Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. So we are going to continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 9. Does anyone know what we read the last time? Does anyone remember?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah.
Krishna.
Gita, please. Yeah.
I wasn't there last time, but I
Oh.
remember, but I remember the one before class. We were seeing that how the pure devotees, they are told about the only shelter is the lotus feet of the Lord, and that they should stand, they should understand and how do they stand under the shadow of the tree. They get that relief from the scorching sun's heat. This, in the similar way, you could get the only shelter from the lotus feet of the Lord. But without asking for relief, you should have that selfless desire, like how the demigods probably are asking. Maybe it should be like, save me or annihilate me. Just leave it to the Lord. Just completely surrender to Him. That's the most important thing. And that Lord was regretting this time how demigods were praying to kill their enemy and not asking for the pure devotional service, because he's looking for the devotees who really ask for pure devotional service, completely surrender to him. That's what I remember last, what I was hearing. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Sneha, did you want to say something?
Actually, this is what also I remember, that the only shelter for permanent relief from the miseries of this world, we should always take shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. And then I remember that we spoke, we read about the 4 kinds of pious men who come to Krishna, the distress, and then those who seek for material gain, the inquisitive, and also who seek for knowledge of the absolute truth. And then we spoke, we read about the 2 classes of men, Kripana and Brahmana. So Brahmana is the one who knows Brahman, the absolute truth. So then he knows his true identity. And a Kripana is one who is he has a bodily concept, material bodily concept, right, of life.
Yeah, he's not at all interested to understand.
Interested in devotional, engaging in devotional service.
Yeah, not at all interested. That's why he's called Kripana.
Yeah, he's a miser, right? He's known as a miser.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And then we heard the Lord telling them, okay, you go to Dadichi and you ask Dadichi for his body now.
Yeah.
So we are going to continue. Sava adhigato dhatyan.
Sarva adhigato dadyan.
Ashvebhyam brahmanishkalam.
Ashvibhyam brahmanishkalam.
Yadva ashva shiro nama.
Yadva ashva shiro nama.
Tayor amaratam vyadhat.
Tayor amaratam vyadhat.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. That saintly Datyancha, who is also known as Dadichi, personally assimilated the spiritual science and then delivered it to the Ashwini Kumaras. It is said that Dadyancha gave them mantras through the head of a horse. Therefore, the mantras are called Ashvashira. After obtaining the mantras of spiritual science from Dadichi, the Ashwini Kumaras became Jivan Mukta, liberated even in this life. The following story is narrated by many acharyas in their commentaries. Nisham yarthavanam daksham pravargya brahma vidyayo dadyancham samupagyamatam uchchatur athashvino Bhagwan dehi no vidyam iti shrutva sa chabravit karmani avasthito dhyadham paschad vakshyami gacchatam Tayor nirgatayor eva shakra agatya tam munim uvacha bhishajor vidyam ma vadir ashvinor mune yadi madvakyam ulangya bravishis sahasevate shiras chindhyam na sandeha iti uktva sayayo harihi indre gate tatha bhyetya na satya uchchatur dvijam Tan mukhad indra gatitam shrutva tav uchchatu punaha avam tava shiras chitva purvam ashvasya mastakam sandhas yavas tato bruhi tena vidyam chanaudvija tasmin indrena sanchine punaha sandhaya mastakam nijam te dakshinam datva kamish yavo yathagatam etat shrutva tado vacha dadyan atharvanas tayo pravargyam brahma vidyam cha sat krito satya shankitaha. The great saint Dadichi had perfect knowledge of how to perform fruitive activities, and he had advanced spiritual knowledge as well. Knowing this, the Ashwini Kumaras once approached him and begged him to instruct them in spiritual science, Brahma Vidya. Dadichi Muni replied, I am now engaged in arranging sacrifices for fruitive activities. Come back sometime later. When the Ashwini Kumaras left, Indra, the king of heaven, approached Dadichi and said, My dear Muni, the Ashwini Kumaras are only physicians. Please do not instruct them in spiritual science. If you impart the spiritual science to them, despite my warning, I shall punish you by cutting off your head. After warning Dadichi in this way, Indra returned to heaven. The Ashwini Kumaras, who understood Indra's desires, returned and begged Dadichi for Brahma Vidya. When the great saint Dadichi informed them of Indra's threat, the Ashwini Kumaras replied, Let us first cut off your head and replace it with the head of a horse. You can instruct Brahma Vidya through the horse's head. And when Indra returns and cuts off that head, we shall reward you and restore your original head. Since Dadichi had promised to impart Brahma Vidya to the Ashwini Kumaras, he agreed to their proposal. Therefore, because Dadichi imparted Brahma Vidya through the mouth of a horse, this Brahma Vidya is also known as Ashvashira. So very interesting story here. The Ashwini Kumaras, it seems, went to Dadichi to ask them about absolute truth, about the Brahman and Ashwin. So Dadichi is telling them, come back later. And in the meantime, Indra is coming and telling Dadichi, no, don't give them, otherwise I'm going to cut your head. And then the Ashwini Kumaras come back and tell Dadichi, okay, don't worry, we'll first cut off your head, we'll preserve it. We'll give you a horse's head, you speak to us the spiritual knowledge. Then Indra will cut off this head and we'll give you back your original head. And they became liberated. Yeah. Sukadev Goswami is saying, it said, after obtaining the mantras of spiritual science from Dadichi, the Ashwini Kumaras became Jivan Mukta, liberated even in this life. So they became liberated souls. So this Lord Vishnu is telling the demigods, right? Dadyan atharvanastvastre tvashtre.
Dadyan atharvanastvastre.
Varma bhedyam mad atmakam.
Varma bhedyam mad atmakam.
Vishvarupaya Yat Pradat
Vishwarupaya Yat Pradat
Tvashta Yatvam Adhastataha.
Tvashta Yatvam Adhastataha.
The Dyancha's invincible protective covering, known as the Narayan Kavach, was given to Tvashta, who delivered it to his son Vishwarup, from whom you have received it. Because of this Narayan Kavach, Dadichi's body is now very strong. You should therefore beg him for his body. So Lord Vishnu is telling Indra, the Dadichi's body is strong because of the Narayan Kavach. So you tell him to give you his body. Yushmabhyam yachito svibhyam.
Yushmabhyam yachito svibhyam.
Dharmagyo ngani dasyate.
Dharmagyo angani dasyati.
Tatasted ayudha shreshto.
Tatasted
Ayudha shreshto.
Vishvakarma vinirmitaha.
Vishvakarma vinirmitaha.
Vinirmitaha.
Yena Vṛtrāsura.
Yena
Vṛtrāsura
Vṛtrāsura.
Mateja upabrimhitaha.
Matteja upabrimhitaha.
When the Ashwini Kumaras beg for the Dyancha's body on your behalf, he will surely give it because of affection. Do not doubt this, for the Dyancha is very experienced in religious understanding. When the Dyancha awards you his body, Vishwakarma will prepare a thunderbolt from his bones. This thunderbolt will certainly kill Vṛtrāsura because it will be invested with my power. So Lord Vishnu is telling the demigods, you tell Ashwini Kumaras to go to Dadichi and ask for his body because he has some, they are his disciples, no? So then he will give you the body, and then Vishwakarma will make a thunderbolt, and with that thunderbolt you kill Vṛtrāsura. Tasmin vinihate yuyam.
Tasmin vinihate yuyam.
Tejostrayuddha sampadaha.
Tejostrayuddha sampadaha.
Bhuya prapasyatha bhadramo.
Bhuya prapasyatha bhadramo.
Na himsanti cha matparan.
Na himsanti cha matparan.
Paran.
Okay. When Vṛtrāsura is killed because of my spiritual strength, you will regain your strength, weapons, and wealth. Thus, there will be all good fortune for all of you. Although Vṛtrāsura can destroy all the three worlds, do not fear that he will harm you. He is also a devotee and will never be envious of you. A devotee of the Lord is never envious of anyone. What to speak of other devotees? As revealed later, Vṛtrāsura was also a devotee. Therefore, he was not expected to be envious of the demigods. Indeed, of his own accord, he would try to benefit the demigods. A devotee does not hesitate to give up his own body for a better cause. Chanakya Pandit said, San nimitte varam tyago vinashe niyate sati. After all one's material possessions, including his body, will be destroyed in due course of time. Therefore, if the body and other possessions can be utilized for a better cause, a devotee never hesitates to give up even his own body. So Lord Vishnu is saying that don't fear from Vṛtrāsura. He is very powerful. He can destroy the three worlds, but he's not going to harm you. He's not envious of you. He's a devotee. So Prabhupada here is quoting Chanakya Pandit in the purport, that Chanakya Pandit is also saying that a devotee, he uses his body for others' welfare. So because Lord Vishnu wanted to save the demigods, Vṛtrāsura, even though able to swallow the three worlds, would agree to be killed by the demigods. For a devotee, there is no difference between living and dying, because in this life, a devotee engages in devotional service, and giving up his body, he engages in the same service in the spiritual world. His devotional service is never hindered. Thus, end the Bhaktivedanta purpose to the 6th canto, 9th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Appearance of the Demon Vṛtrāsura. So Prabhupada here is pointing out the mood of the devotee, that the devotee, while he's in this body, he is serving the Lord. And after he dies, after he gives up the body, he continues serving the Lord in the spiritual world. So he is always engaged in devotional service. Prabhupada would tell this story that there was one son of a brahmana. He was a brahmachari. He was very strict, very, very austere, living very austerely, lot of penances. Then there was the son of a king, the prince. He was misusing his position because he was a prince. He was engaging in all sorts of activities. He was enjoying, of course, but he was also misusing his position, because he's a king, he's a prince after all. And then there was a butcher who was slaughtering the animals. And then there was a devotee engaged in devotional service. So this brahmana, when he sees the brahmachari, he says, "May you die immediately." And then when he sees the king's son, the prince, he says, "May you never die." And when he sees the butcher, that you should not live, you should not die. And when he sees the devotee, he says, it doesn't matter whether you live or die. It's the same. So for the brahmachari, he says, die immediately, because he has got so much pious credit in his account, and he's so austere, he's living so austerely, that when he dies, he can get a very nice situation, because he has so much pious credit. Then for the king's son prince, because he's doing all sorts of sinful activities, misusing his position. So the brahmana knows that if he dies, he's going to suffer a lot. So better don't die. Be in your position. And for the butcher, because he's living, he's suffering, he's causing the suffering. And if he dies, he's also going to suffer. That's why he's like, may you neither live nor die. And for the devotee, he's like, doesn't matter whether you live or die, because the devotee, he's serving Krishna. And after leaving the body, he'll continue to serve Krishna. So it doesn't matter. So this is what Prabhupada is also saying here. That for a devotee, there's no difference between living and dying, because in this life, a devotee engages in devotional service. And after giving up his body, he engages in the same service in the spiritual world. His devotional service is never hindered. Any comments? Questions?
So the demigods didn't know that Vṛtrāsura was a devotee?
Yeah, seems not. No. We are going to hear that how now Vṛtrāsura is a devotee, how come he's coming in the body of a demon, what happens. We are going to read that coming up in the next, not in this chapter, but in the coming up chapters. So we'll continue reading with this chapter 10 now. We'll begin the battle between the demigods and Vṛtrāsura. As described in this chapter, after Indra obtained the body of Dadichi, a thunderbolt was prepared from Dadichi's bones, and a fight took place between Vṛtrāsura and the demigods. Following the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the demigods approached Dadichi Muni and begged for his body. Dadichi Muni, just to hear from the demigods about the principles of religion, jokingly refused to relinquish his body. But for higher purposes, he thereafter agreed to give it up. For after death, the body is usually eaten by low animals like dogs and jackals. So the demigods, they told Dadichi, please give us your body. So Dadichi was already prepared. He's going to give his body up because he's like, this body anyway is of no use. After I leave it, it's just going to rot away. So, but he wanted to hear the religious principles from the demigods. So Dadichi Muni first merged his gross body made of 5 elements into the original stock of 5 elements, and then engaged his soul at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus he gave up his gross body. With the help of Vishwakarma, the demigods then prepared a thunderbolt from Dadichi's bones. Armed with the thunderbolt weapon, they prepared themselves to fight and got up on the backs of elephants. So Dadichi Muni, a devotee of the Lord, so he's fixing his mind at the lotus feet of the Lord, and that's how he gave up his body. At the end of Satyug and the beginning of Treta Yuga, a great fight took place between the demigods and the asuras. So this is at the end of Satyug and beginning of Treta. Unable to tolerate the effulgence of the demigods, the asuras fled the battle, leaving Vṛtrāsura, their commander-in-chief, to fight for himself. Vṛtrāsura, however, seeing the demons fleeing, instructed them in the importance of fighting and dying in the battlefield. One who is victorious in battle gains material possessions, and one who dies in the battlefield attains a residence at once in the celestial heavens. In either way, the fighter benefits. So it seems the demons were all running away because the demigods were winning, whereas Vṛtrāsura is in fact giving them knowledge and instruction, saying that, see, if you win the battle, you'll become rich, you'll get to enjoy the heavenly kingdoms. And if you die in battle, you'll also attain the celestial planets, because you get pious credit when a soldier dies in the battlefield. So, reading from text 1, Shri Bhadarayana Vacha.
Shri Bhadarayana
Uvacha.
Indram evam samadishya.
Indram evam samadishya.
Bhagavan Vishvabhavanaha.
Bhagavan Vishvabhavanaha.
Pashyatam animeshanam.
Pashyatam animeshanam.
Tatraivantar dade harihi.
Tatraivantar dade harihi.
Sri Sukadev Goswami said, after instructing Indra in this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, the cause of the cosmic manifestation, then and there disappeared from the presence of the onlooking demigods. So the Lord told them, you go to Dadichi, he'll surely give you the bones. Then you tell Vishwakarma, make a thunderbolt, and the Lord, they can't be seen anymore, disappear. Tathabi yachito dever.
Tathapi yachito deve.
Rishi Atharvano Mahan.
Rishi Atharvano Mahan.
Modamana Uvachedam.
Modamana Uvachedam.
Prahasan Eva Bharata.
Prahasan Eva Bharata.
O King Parikshit, following the Lord's instructions, the demigods approached Dadichi, the son of Atharva. He was very liberal And when they begged him to give them his body, he at once partially agreed. However, just to hear religious instructions from them, he smiled and jokingly spoke as follows. Api Vrindarakayuyam
Api
Api
Vrindarakayam
Vrindarakayuyam
na janitha sharirinam
na janita
Janitha Shariri
sharinam
samsthayam yastva abhidroho
samsthayam
Samstayam
yas
Yastva Abhidroho
abhidroho
duhsahas chetanapaha
Dusahas
dusahaschetanapaha.
Chetanapaha.
O elevated demigods, at the time of death, severe unbearable pain takes away the consciousness of all living entities who have accepted material bodies. Don't you know about this pain? So at the time of death, it's very painful. Scriptures say it's like how many millions of scorpions biting, or thousands of scorpions, or millions of scorpions biting at one time. Jiji Vishunam Jivanam
Vishunam Jivanam
Atma Preshta Ihepsitaha
Atma
Prishta Ihi Vikshitaha
Ka Utsaheta Tam Datum
Ka utsahita
Utsahita Tam Datum
Dikshamanaya Vishnave.
Vikshamanaya
Shamanaya
Vishnave.
Vishnave.
In this material world, every living entity is very much addicted to this material body. Struggling to keep his body forever, everyone tries to protect it by all means, even at the sacrifice of all his possessions. Therefore, who would be prepared to deliver his body to anyone, even if it were demanded by Lord Vishnu? So it's true, no? Our body, everyone is so, the body is so dear to each one of us, and we go to such great lengths to protect the body. It is said, Atmanam sarvato rakshet tato dharmam tato dhanam. One must protect his body by all means. Then he may protect his religious principles and thereafter his possessions. This is the natural desire of all living entities. No one wants to give up his body unless it is forcibly given away. So what the scriptures are saying, first our duty, protect the body. Then we protect religious principles, and third should be the possessions. So even though the demigods said they were demanding Dadichi's body for their benefit in accordance with the order of Lord Vishnu, Dadichi superficially refused to give them his body, saying the body is so dear, it's going to be so much pain. Religious principles also says we should survival first, We have this natural instinct for survival. Sri Deva Uchu.
Sri Deva Uchu.
Kimnu tad dustai yajam brahman.
Kimnu tad
Sandushtaya
Brahman.
Pumsam bhutanukampinam.
Sambhutanukampinam.
Bhavad vidhanam mahatam.
Bhavadvidanam mahatam.
Punya shlokedya karmanam.
Punya shlokedya karmanam.
The demigods replied, O exalted Brahmana, pious persons like you, whose activities are praiseworthy, are very kind and affectionate to people in general. What can't such pious souls give for the benefit of others? They can give everything, including their bodies. So the demigods are saying, you're pious. Pious people are always looking to benefit others. Nunam swartha paroloko.
Nunam swartha paroloko.
Na veda parasankatam.
Na veda
Veda
parasankatam.
Parasankatam.
Yadi veda na yacheta.
Yadi veda na yacheta.
Neti naha yad ishvaraha.
Neti
Neti
naha
naha yat
Ishvara.
Ishwarah.
Those who are too self-interested beg something from others, not knowing of others' pain. But if the beggar knew the difficulty of the giver, he would not ask for anything. Similarly, who is able to give charity does not know the beggar's difficulty, for otherwise he would not refuse to give the beggar anything he might want as charity. So this verse describes two people, one who gives charity and one who begs for it. A beggar should not ask charity from a person who is in difficulty. Similarly, one who is able to give charity should not deny a beggar. These are the moral instructions of the Shastra. So if one is able to give charity, one should give charity. And one should not ask charity from someone who's not able to give it. Chanakya Pandit says, San nimitte varam tyago vinashe niyate sati. Everything within this material world will be destroyed. And therefore, one should use everything for good purposes. If one is advanced in knowledge, he must always be prepared to sacrifice anything for a better cause. At the present moment, the entire world is in a dangerous position under the spell of a godless civilization. The Krishna consciousness movement needs many exalted, learned persons who will sacrifice their lives to revive God consciousness throughout the world. We therefore invite all men and women advanced in knowledge to join the Krishna consciousness movement and sacrifice their lives for the great cause of reviving the God consciousness of human society. So Prabhupada is pointing out that if one is in knowledge, one naturally is willing to sacrifice himself for a higher cause. So Prabhupada is inviting everyone to join the Krishna consciousness movement. So for the benefit of others, to give Krishna consciousness to everyone else. Shri Rishiruvacha
Shri Rishi Uvacha.
Dharmam Shrotu Kamena
Dharmam va shrotu kamena.
Yuyam Me Pratyudarata
Yuyam yutarita.
Eshava Priyam Atmanam
Eshava priyam atmanam.
Tyajantam Santyajami Aham.
Tyajantam santyajam.
The great sage Dadiji said, just to hear from you about religious principles, I refuse to offer my body at your request. Now, although my body is extremely dear to me, I must give it up for your better purposes, since I know that it will leave me today or tomorrow. So Dadiji is saying, the body is dear to me, it's natural. Each of us, we go to great lengths to protect our body. So, but Dadiji, he's a devotee. He's willing to give up his body. He's for a better purpose. He's saying, anyway, today or tomorrow, I have to give up the body. So you take it today. Yo dhruven atmana natha.
Yo druvena vinatmana.
Na dharmam na pashya puman.
Na dharma yash.
Iheta bhuta dayaya.
Iheta bhuta dayaya.
Sa shochya sthavarerapi.
Sa shocha stavarer api.
O demigods, one who has no compassion for humanity in its suffering and does not sacrifice his impermanent body for the higher causes of religious principles or eternal glory is certainly pitied even by the immovable beings. In this regard, a very exalted example was set by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. concerning Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 5, Text 34, Tyakva sudustyaja surepshita raja lakshmin
Yes.
dharmishta arya vachasa yad agad aranyam maya mrigam daita yepshitam anvadhavad vande mahapurusha te charanaravindam. We offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Lord, upon whom one should always meditate. He left his householder life, leaving aside his eternal consort, whom even the denizens of heaven adore. He went into the forest to deliver the fallen souls who are put into illusion by material energy. So, this, because Lord Chaitanya, he took sannyas at the age of 24, he had a young wife, he gave up the world. Why he did that? Just so that he could give Krishna consciousness to everyone for our benefit. To accept sannyas means to commit civil suicide, but sannyas is compulsory, at least for every brahmana, every first-class human being. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a very young and beautiful wife and a very affectionate mother. Indeed, the affectionate dealings of his family members were so pleasing that even the demigods could not expect such happiness at home. So that's how it's being compared, because demigods have great happiness, right? They're more happy than human beings, more peace. So Lord Chaitanya, what he was experiencing, even the demigods don't experience that, and yet he sacrificed it all. Nevertheless, for the deliverance of all the fallen souls of the world, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas and left home when he was only 24 years old. He lived a very strict life as a sannyasi, refusing all bodily comforts. Similarly, his disciples, the 6 Goswamis, were ministers who held exalted positions in society, but they also left everything to join the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the 6 Goswamis, they were coming from very good families. Rup Sanatan Goswami, they were very, very wealthy, and Raghunath was like son of a billionaire if we compare to today's times. But they gave it all up to spread Krishna consciousness, to write all the Bhakti Shastras, to excavate the places of pastimes of Lord Krishna, to construct the beautiful temples in Vrindavan. So Srinivas Acharya says, Tyakva Turnam Ashesha Mandalapati Shrenim Sada Tuchavat Bhutva Dina Ganesha Karunaya Kaupina Kantha Shrito. These Goswamis have left very comfortable lives as ministers, zamindars, and learned scholars, and joined Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, just to show mercy to the fallen souls of the world. Dina Ganesha Kau Karunaya, accepting very humble lives as mendicants, wearing no more than loincloths and torn quilts, Kopina Kantha. They lived in Vrindavan and followed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order to excavate Vrindavan's lost glories. Similarly, everyone else with a materially comfortable condition in this world should join the Krishna consciousness movement to elevate the fallen souls. The words Bhuta Dayaya, Maya Mrigam Dayit Yepshitam, and Dina Ganeshakau Karunaya all convey the same sense. These are very significant words for those interested in elevating human society to a proper understanding of life. One should join the Krishna consciousness movement, following the examples of such great personalities as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the 6 Goswamis, and before them the great sage Dadichi. Instead of wasting one's life for temporary bodily comforts, one should always be prepared to give up one's life for better causes. After all, the body will be destroyed. Therefore, one should sacrifice it for the glory of distributing religious principles throughout the world. So Srila Prabhupada is saying, just as Dadichi gave up his body for a higher cause, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, they took up great difficulty for our benefit to spread Krishna consciousness to everyone. So similarly, Srila Prabhupada is inviting each and every one of us also to join the Krishna consciousness movement so that we can help others, give Krishna to others, to everyone, so that everyone can go back home, back to Godhead. Questions, comments? I'm sorry, I'm not able to hear. Huh? I'm not sure if anyone's saying anything because I can't hear.
No, quite clear, all clear.
All clear? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay then, thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.